This episode is powered by Vita students. The theme of this episode, which is about risk taking, which is about career, which is about being big, starting early, resonate very much with Vita brand because we have the shared value. The values of student happiness, student well-being, the overall experience. Stay happy, stay healthy, live, learn, achieve. And if you live in a good place, you will learn better. If you learn better, you will achieve more. If you achieve more, you will be more happy. It seems like I'm doing a Zindagi Na Mile Ya Dil Chahta Hai episode of higher education.
Yeah.
The big elephant in the room is employability, right?
Say that the universities are responsible for employability. They are not. Was it really worth slogging through those exams, getting through that particular degree and then getting a job for 20 lakhs or 15 lakhs? It is down to a student how you kind of utilize that opportunity.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, very early morning or a very early or a very, very late evening. Why I say this? Because, when I sit with my team and check the audience and check the demographics or all the data, we found that there are people who are as young as 13, 14, 15s who've been preparing to go abroad and trying to understand nuances. There are people who are from the industry who've been 30 years, 20 years, 10 years in the industry. We have parents, who want to see and hear and learn things which is not scripted, which is real, and from the real stalwarts of the industry, or as I call it, the real horse. Always hear from the horse mouth. And we have 3 horses today who've been in the industry for a while. They've been going strong, and I guess none of them is in the industry less than 5 or 10 years, or probably more than that. I believe not many episodes it happens that I am the most inexperienced, if I can say it. I don't know, might be. But without any more delays, let me introduce the guest and also the theme of this podcast or this episode, wherein the theme is be real, share your experiences. Because all of us, and at least all 3 of them, are the real success of studying abroad or be a part of this beautiful industry called higher education. Who want to go first, guys? I know I have boys, and this episode can go anywhere. I'm making this disclaimer. It's because it's not scripted. We have few questions we need to discuss, but I just want to have fun. I just want to learn and go with the flow. So, Sandeep, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning.
I don't introduce, because I am not in the capacity to introduce, and then I don't want to say Essex, so why don't you go ahead?
Thank you for that very, very kind introduction. And I'm really excited because this is not scripted, and it's a conversation with 4 friends, amongst 4 friends. I'm Sandeep. Namaste. Good morning. Good evening. I'm the Regional Director for University of Essex, and it is my absolute pleasure to be with Saurabh and my colleagues and friends, and looking forward to this chat.
Devesh, you want to go ahead?
Thanks, Saurabh. Thanks for having us here and for bringing us all together as well. I've known Sandeep and Ashish for a long, long time, and it's really fun to be on the couch along with you and with them. I'm Devesh, and I'm the Regional Director for the University of Birmingham for the South Asia and the Middle East region. Been in the industry for, like Saurabh puts it, we are quite big dinosaurs here now. But we'd love to share the insights with you, and thank you for giving us this platform to be here and to talk to students who are looking at studying overseas, for parents who are considering overseas education for their children and wondering if it's the right thing to do, and also for anybody else listening. Very happy to talk to you.
Dinosaurs were not outdated.
Not at all.
And for the first time on Living Pod by Saurabh, powered by University Living, we have a guest who have been here before, and this is a first for Living Pod, who've been featuring second time. Ashish.
Thank you, Saurabh. I really feel privileged that I am here for the second time. I will copy your starting line. So, Namaskar, मेरा नाम आशीष जायसवार है, और I would say my name is Ashish Jaiswar. I currently work as a General Manager India for the University of Reading, based in New Delhi, India. I've been in the sector for almost 14, 15 years now, and I've known both Sandeep and Devesh at the same time. It's funny when you look back 13 years or 14 years back, how life was and how life is today. One thing hasn't changed is our friendship. It has been going very strong. So yes, and I'm very pleased to be here with you, Saurabh. And thank you for this opportunity of bringing us, all four of us, together. So thank you. And I'm really looking forward for this non-scripted conversation. Thank you.
We've been saying non-scripted, it seems pakka scripted hai. Nahi. You mentioned one thing, and it gave me a vibe that it seems like I'm doing a Zindagi Na Mile ya Dil Chahta Hai episode of higher education.
Yeah.
I mean, I am hoping and I'm sure it's going to be lots of fun with lots of learning. So guys, on a serious note, right? You've been part of the industry for 13 years, 14 years,
10 years.
10 years, again probably another 14 years, right? So among all of us, we've been in this industry for more than 50 years, right? And this industry is not 50 years even old, maximum 30-35 years. I believe I had an interaction with Sushil sir and Ravi sir. I call them sir because I really look upon them. When they started 30-35 years, the industry was so different, right? So even after 60 years experience, at least I have no comms accepting that there's so much to learn. It's so multi-layered, right? So what promoted you or prompted you to be part of the industry? How did you come to in the industry?
So I think for me, it was that having studied overseas, I saw the difference between what education in India is and what overseas is. It gives you a lot of, independence, but also a lot of responsibility. So everything that is taught you in a concept where you're actually asked to question that concept and also test it out whether you agree with it or not. And if you don't agree with it, you're given the right to even question it, and the faculty will listen to you. So that's the one big difference that I found. When I did come back to India, I got
So where did you study from?
I studied at Westminster University in London. Coming back, I got a call from Acumen to say that they do have a position available at Bristol that they're hiring for, and just went ahead with it. It was completely new as a sector to me and a new industry altogether. Went ahead with, no expectations at all. Just tried it, and it really resonated with what I wanted to do in my life, which is to share the experience with the students that are coming and inquiring from me. I felt that I could share my experience, tell them what I went through, and in that journey, be a part of that or help them as well. And that's how it all started, and it's been years that I've been here now.
So you consider yourself lucky, or it was you planned something, or it just happened? Because not everyone who go abroad come back and get a job right after, and that too such a prestigious as well as value creating role. Did you plan something or it just happened automatically?
No, so when I came back, I was actually working for a different firm because my background is marketing. So I started working for a design firm and I was heading their communication. Education sector just happened. And it was all through LinkedIn because the team from Acumen saw my profile, saw something I had done similar during my time at the university, where during the summer I had worked for the international office. And they said it resonates well with what your responsibilities will be. So that's how I got approached.
So I'll come back to you. You mentioned LinkedIn and you mentioned 10 years. And people know that I'm very active on LinkedIn, and people have now trolling me that, another post from Saurabh. So, taking a shot on me. But we talk about LinkedIn because even was LinkedIn was so relevant 10 years back also. So we'll come to that point. Sandeep, how did you get into this sector? Your backstory. Did you also study abroad?
So I studied overseas much later. That was a sponsored leadership course, but for me it was, I think, luck and a chance encounter, because senior leadership from Essex was traveling and I used to work for the Times of India back in the day. So I was similar to Devesh, never realized that I was also into customer facing communication comms role. In Times, I was working for Education Times specifically, and I had met Essex, the then director, to basically convince him to sponsor and participate in a ranking that the Times of India was essentially planning to launch. and that's when he discussed that he's also starting an office, very similar but seamless. Then Sanimus for reached out to me as a result. So, but I think it was pure luck because I had not planned. I did not know what this career would, that a chance encounter would mean, that I would stay for more than a decade and I would fall in love with it. Absolutely love it from the core of my heart. And I also did not even realize at that point that I would enjoy talking to parents and changing their lives that much. Because that is, Spider-Man. Oh, sorry, Superman. Superman. Responsibility comes with power. And I think, that's my background.
Luck by chance. Luck by chance, serendipity. Ashish.
Mine was everything planned. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. No, I'm just joking. I think
It seems I'm talking to Dil Chahta Hai.
Saif Ali Khan.
Saif Ali Khan. Amir Khan. Akshay. He seems to be Akshay.
Oh yeah,
My
actually,
God.
हाँ.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
go ahead, sorry.
I think it wasn't planned for me. I think this was a filler role. I think back when I did my undergraduate and I came back to India, and I think we've discussed this about in my previous podcast as well, and I think there's something which keeps coming up. I came back to India, I was looking for jobs. At that point in time, it was Naukri.com or something like that. It still exists, but I know LinkedIn has taken over. And I applied for a role and I got this random call from an agent saying that, oh, would you like to work for us? And when you come back to India, you're looking for jobs. At that point in time, you will pick up whatever you want to pick up is available to you at that point in time. I picked up that role, worked for a few years, and then kind of started enjoying it. I think what I feel it hasn't changed. What motivated me at that point in time when I was doing that role, and what motivates me now when I'm doing this role is just the sheer power you have to make a difference in someone's life. I think there is a lot of frills to this job. We talk about airline, 5-star hotels and eating out at a different restaurant every single day. But I think this job is much more than what you think. It is not just talking to students or going to an agent office or parents or whatever. I think what you do today will have an impact on someone's life 5 years, 10 years down the line. So I think that's what motivates me, that yes, you're doing your share bit of thing in the society, that yes, it's not a very massive role that you're on a leadership or a political party or something like that, but you are making a difference. So yeah, I think that would keeps me motivated and still keep going every single day, that this is why you're doing this job.
Devesh, after 10 years, being a student to recruiting 100,000 students, and you're part of a couple of really good universities, right? What motivates you or still get you out of your bed and stay for long hours?
Right. I think when I was at Bristol and my role was chiefly recruitment, at that point, definitely it was like Sandeep mentioned, changing the lives of people. You are there, people are coming and talking to you. They are, picturing their life ahead. And the words that you say can impact their lives. They're spending money, they're spending their time and aspirations of their parents. All of that is on a line with one word that you say to them. And that is what is the power, like he mentioned, is what we have. But how do we ethically and rightly use it? There are times when I've actually turned away people to say, I'm not the right university for you. You go here, you'll be much happier. And moments later, maybe even years later, they've come back to me to say, thank you so much for making that decision for me, because you were right. So, there are times when you really have to think about these things, and that motivated me quite a lot when I was in recruitment. Now I'm looking at strategic, relationships.
So you're with Birmingham now, yeah.
With Birmingham. Here again, we're looking at the kind of impact the university is making. So we're doing groundbreaking research. Most recently, we've tied up with the Haryana state government, wherein we are building up a cold supply chain for all the farmers, not just from Haryana, but from Himachal, Punjab, as well as from Uttaranchal, who are going to come and use that center and better their crops, better their yields, and get profit. So, these kind of things that the university is doing, research, which has real world impact, is what really motivates me to see, where are the problems where we can see or plug in our universities and get those solutions there. So I think in a sense, it's both.
Very interesting. There's so much to discuss and so much to talk, right? And feel free to add minus,
I just want to add something. Devesh hasn't mentioned this, but you were in Jab Tak Anjaan as well, right? You did a small role in Jab Tak Anjaan movie. So he was part of that movie. You need to tell them.
Yeah.
So you were opposite Anushka or
I was behind both Anushka and Sharma because while I was studying, this was
not
happening.
a bad place to be.
Not a bad place at all to be. Got to spend good time with Shahrukh, so I think that was good fun.
Okay. So you all share this one common thing. You have studied abroad, and you are champion for UK education. What's there with UK education? Why Indians and international students are so gung-ho about UK education as per se? And it's been for a while,
Yes.
right? Or many years. Anyone want to start with
really,
that?
really interesting question, because I mean, Ashish and Devesh can of course talk about a lot of specifics, but I remember, COVID, height of COVID, UK was the only destination which had its borders open. And I remember essentially talking to my team and saying, guys, I really don't know what's going to happen because it's so difficult. This year we had a meeting in Dubai, we cancelled that. Our annual meetings in UK, we cancelled all of those. And I remember sort of breaking up to them and saying, this is not a situation we want to be in as an institution. But I think overall as a UK, as a destination, broke all records of recruitment during COVID years, because the borders were open and welcoming, and there was and that is such foresighted into, the second thing which I think, there is a remarkable memory of amongst students, audience, parents, memory of UK being a fantastic destination both in terms, and I think British Council's way back, British Council used to have a great campaign, Great Britain being great again, and that campaign, how it sort of envisaged the UK as a destination of high reputation, and institutions, UK universities offering value, reputation, etc. So I think that has been a long-standing thread in the minds of people.
So you mentioned COVID, and me being me, right? I mean, UK is my strongest market, right? But still, I will not shy away, and to share my thoughts.
Yeah.
You mentioned, UK was the only market which was open because of COVID.
One of the
main market, right? And absolutely, in fact, being an entrepreneur business, right? They were lost on the stake. And we are anti-COVID story. You guys can still provide online education, or for us, we were clueless. And that time we were just 70 people team, right? And why I'm sharing it, because see, the fact is, what I realized during that time, the power of this sector and the power of this business model, as a higher education. Of course, UK government was very mindful, they were very conscious, but we all know no international university can survive without international students. So that's the real, I would say, thesis I realized, and due to which we went double up during COVID. Of course, as an entrepreneur, I took risk. It paid off, because in COVID we not only survived, we thrived. And that was a eureka moment for us, because from that year, not only Indian students but even local domestic students start using our platform, because coming from Bristol going to London, or from Readin going to probably Essex, right? But everyone knows that UK education is one of the strongest and one of the oldest, right? We have universities which are 200, 500 years old.
Exactly.
So there is no denying the quality of education, right? But still, in COVID, of course, UK was open and there were many other, right? Why in COVID, UK broke all the records? Anyone want to add to this?
I'll say that UK is always seen as a very student-friendly country. One is that, like you mentioned, there's a legacy of academics, which is always there. People feel a pride to go and study in the UK because of the universities that are there. But also in terms of employability wise, they were the first ones to come up with the graduate route during the COVID period. So 2021, it was launched, giving students the chance to come back and, work there after 2 years after the graduation. But apart from that, the education that they also provide is more research-led education. So whatever you're studying in the class is not just books and journals that you're studying from, but actual real-world impact that is happening, you're studying that in your class before it makes it even to the books. So, students get that exposure very early on within their classrooms, so that when they eventually step into the work environment, they're much more prepared. They know what is coming ahead. And that is what they've already prepared for. Research education. So what happens with that is students are actually studying from research papers that are published, which are not out in the market yet. It takes at least 2 to 3 years for those to get published into a book. So by the time, those books reach the classrooms, these students have already studied it, practiced on technology and things of even policy they know which are coming up in the future. So employers want these people as well. So that's the key strength of UK. Where they make it accessible to students, not just the legacy universities, but every university. That's the format they follow. So it becomes very easy for the student to understand the kind of academics they're studying, but also has a real world impact on them as well.
Ashish?
I think I have a completely different response to this question. I think the UK education has been very traditional, but yet it has become very modern in the recent years. I think one word which will define UK education being more kind of favored or being very kind of seen as an interest in India is it's very adaptive. I think when you look about COVID, they were very quick to respond. It's not that there were other countries, but they were very quick to respond, turning everything to online education. Even the country kind of worked out how we're going to bring international students in. And when we talk about research, even though before things come into the paper, or the news book, textbook, there is somebody or the other who's doing a research on that. So I think UK education over the years has been very adaptive. I think whether it's about doing the graduate study route or work visa or reviewing every other thing which might impact the international student numbers to the universities in the UK, we are at the forefront of it. And I think this has been there not in this last 10-15 years when I've been in the education sector. Even if you look back in 100 years back, we had people going to Cambridge and Oxford and studying in different universities. Even if you look at the new RBI governor, he's also from University of Birmingham. So he did his master's in, was it public administration? I don't know which.
We had our first student coming in 1908.
So he did it. And we had somebody in Reading going in 1984, even the year when I was not even born. So I think the legacy was there. It has always been there. I think there are other destinations which are coming up. But if you want to compare them, you cannot, because there are years of connection which we have in both the countries. But yeah, I would say that UK has been very adaptive, and it has always been. I think something comes up, we come up with a solution for it, which makes it easier for students to kind of navigate through a country. And of course, English is a language which we use, so it makes easier for people to go to that country. And of course, we have to give it out to our Bollywood movies. I think after but I think for me it was DDLJ, which inspired me to go to London to study, and there were Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham. So yes, there's a lot of connection. I think it's not only education. I think India and UK has connection in different ways. Aspects of ways which we can't think of.
But also talking about COVID, UK again reacted very quickly, and IHS insurance that the students have to pay for medical, immediately COVID was added to it.
Yes.
So for parents who were concerned that the kids will go get unwell there, they knew that insurance is there and they'll be taken care of. So, small things like these made a big difference.
But Ashish mentioned, people choosing UK as a destination since ages. Indian diaspora, I think that has to be the number one reason why and also thanks to colonization, unfortunately, there is a it happens in the mind. So subconsciously there is a real inclination towards one of the key influences of UK higher education is the ex-Birmingham Chancellor, Lord Karan Moria, who founded Cobra Beer. He's a true example of a successful entrepreneur. Indian diaspora, same with Essex. We've got excellent entrepreneurs, alumni who've been diaspora, who are. The other interesting fact, if Saurabh, I don't know whether you can maybe double check and let us know and the audience know, is if you look at institutions, often people choose institutions on the basis of football teams, or cities and towns where there is a big diaspora population, and not so much for institutions per se. So that's the other theme which has kept UK very relevant.
No, absolutely. In fact, one thing which we also I would like to add, the strategic location. It's not very far, it's not very close. Definitely, it's a melting pot.
It is.
So it's, people who would like to probably, Asians, in fact, I kid this around. Asians we don't able to meet in Pakistan or Sri Lanka. You know, we meet more in London.
Exactly.
Then probably,
Yeah.
you know, I have so many of my education partners, you know, who are like, you know, from Pakistan or Bangladesh.
Yeah.
You know, we meet them over and again in London, then probably in Pakistan or probably in Dubai, right? So you talk about, you know, and I will try to be you know, devil advocate here. I'm also biased for UK, right? I'm also studying from UK. My co-founder is from UK, right? So, you know, there is a certain biasness for UK, for London, you know, for some cities and universities. But because in last 15 years, you know, I also got lots of exposure towards US education, or the other day we were doing New Zealand education, right?
Yes.
Again, fortunate and blessed to have good understanding of European education now, right? Australia, you know, it's a fantastic destination, right? And someone like me who have a superpower, you know, my business is not dependent on one country.
Exactly.
You know, I have all the rights and comfort to even bash UK education as a sector, right? So let me, and I know I'm doing some podcast with very senior people in UK, so I might not, you know, like be on their side after this, but many people feel, you know, जिसका कहीं नहीं होता ना, UK तो आसान है. It's not expensive, it's not cheap. It's not, of course, there are lots of high ranked universities, you know, in UK, but still, most of international students' dreams is US. Why so? Or if you know, beg to disagree, please go all in. And I know you all are very passionate.
Yes.
Boys, I'm listening.
Okay, is it now our cue to get up and leave the podcast, or we still think? I think I'll go. I'll probably, if I take the liberty.
You have already taken.
Thank you so much.
He's senior, right?
Not senior, but I will not. I mean, I'm just being nice to guys.
Yeah.
I'm always nice. I'm just saying. I think there's a myth that US kind of supersedes UK or Australia is a better destination. I feel every country has a share of pie in this market. We all get the number of students which we require as a country, as a university. So a lot of people, so like the younger generation right now doesn't really bother whether you're going to Australia, you're going to UK or Europe, anywhere. I think, but historically, if you talk about our grandparents or even before that, our forefathers, they would say, oh, let's not go to Britain. They did this. But I think that notion has been completely out. We don't think about that anymore. And I think people are...
Today's Gen Z and Alpha don't even know
Yeah.
their history. So
I don't think that they have the history books anyway. I think there is a notion, if you are looking into a certain sector, if you are going into an IT field, a software engineer, you will see those trends happening a lot to those destinations. But if you're looking at a business education, I would say people still prefer UK as first choice and European destination. In fact, some of the very good B schools, if you talk about, are in Europe and in the UK. They're not in the US. When we talk about cost of education, I think the maths is very simple. Masters is 1 year in the UK. And in the US is 2 years. So I think if the UK masters were 2 years, the cost will be the same. I think the cost is not the factor. Maybe when you were having this discussion in 1990 or 1996 on 2000 or 2001, maybe we could have talked about destination. I think at this point in time, an Indian student, when he's applying to different destination. The reason why you are saying that UK is a last minute choice is because we are very welcoming.
I'm not saying.
No, so I'm just
I'm not saying,
I
right?
think UK is very welcoming, and I think we kind of open our application at a very last stage because we know we can manage it. There are certain countries where the applications will shut down in November, January, February, or March and April, and you have to give it to our students as well. Sometimes they wake up at the very last minute and they say, oh, we want to go to a different country altogether. So I think when you decide and when you want to go, there's only a very small window left. And I think UK would be one of those countries, or Australia might be one of those countries. But if you're looking to a different part of the world, their deadlines are far ahead. So I think at this point in time, students are going everywhere. And I think it has to do more than just the ranking or the destination. Now the questions we get, what is your employability? What is the alumni thing? What do you do to engage with the local surrounding, the things like that? So the question has changed. I think 10 years back, it was all simple. How much money you're going to spend?
Ranking.
Ranking and where you are based. And now nobody asks these questions. They completely moved to a different ball game altogether. You guys.
You mentioned that. Right?
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I did a survey, right? My team did a survey, and we realized that from the tier 1 cities, Mumbai, Bangalore, Calcutta, Chennai, Ahmedabad, and Indian subcontinent tier 1 cities, 40% of our applicants have already visited the UK.
Hmm.
And that is a proximity, Bollywood, but that's also English. And that's distance. It's a 8-hour, 6-hour flight. You know, everybody loves to. I want to reference back to what I said about the Great Britain campaign of British Council. I mean, there is this real. You can show off the fact that you studied and went to the UK for a holiday.
So you mean the signal value is higher for UK education than US?
Yeah.
Is it?
At the moment, yes.
In terms of the reputation.
I think definitely.
The signal value, I mean the status value, if I say.
Status
Yeah,
value.
absolutely. There's no
because
denial
US
about
says
it.
that if you can get into the Ivy League, then you can. But otherwise, you know.
But for US also, no? I mean in UK also there is Russell Group and modern universities. You know.
There is Russell Group, but the modern universities, even though they are low on the ranking, because you know they've been more recently opened,
Right.
but the quality is really good. Like Westminster, Essex, you know, these universities are in the heart of London. Essex is a little bit off, but again very reachable. But again, the value they give to the student is quite strong.
See, Devesh mentioned research, right? So that is the underlying and the other. So I'll do a very quick comparison, and I'll reach out to why US versus UK. So the US for undergrad often is very popular because the first year you get to study everything. So you study liberal arts, you get to choose majors and minors and all of that. So that makes it really, really interesting. But well, I am a big advocate of UK, but you've got to get through Ivy Leagues. You've got to take the SAT exam.
Yeah.
Start a year in advance, take expensive coaching or study about it yourself. The UK does not want that. There's people like myself, Devesh and Ashish and stalwarts of the sector who have lobbied and made the admission criteria such that you can get in with your CBSE board exams. Right? Currently, I'm working on a proposal to accept my Bangladesh local board, my Nepalese local board. Why? Because I want to make that accessibility of UK. So would you say that it is prohibitive? No, it's not. Because people like us have tirelessly worked over this decade. That's our job. Of course, our job is to speak to students. But our strategic job is to create an environment and policy where it becomes easy for students to come and study. And I think in the US with GMAT, GRE and SAT, these are all American exams. You know, the humble IELTS is all that the UK wants.
So,
right?
so just 1 minute. You have kid,
I have got a kid.
right? On camera, you're saying that you want to send your kid to UK, not US.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'll tell you why. I think I'm going to give you the answer.
And you will not give
Because he's studying-
you will not give a choice to your kid.
No, but
I hope.
I got you.
can I ask you a question, Saurabh? I tell you one thing. I think what we need to appreciate is that the Indian education system is strong. And UK recognizes that. The fact that we allow a year 12 student to come to our bachelor's program without any extra SATs or AP exams, we kind of as a UK as a country or a destination or a higher education system value that the Indian higher education system is at par, that you can come in and you can apply just like an A-level students. And this is not something which is happening now. It's been there for I think more than a decade or 2 decades. I think I'm not going against American system, but they don't feel, the reason why you have these certain benchmark, but then again, if I'm making that argument, they for their own kids also have SATs and everything, but I think you don't require that. I think UK has moved forward. The fact that the Indian government has recognized the 1-year masters of a UK masters in India, it's a different kind of a
great validation.
Value addition, and also it's a kind of signaling the government that yes, it's a reciprocal arrangement. You're arranging. You can get up one day tomorrow and say that okay, we need an SAT or an AP, but we don't. So the fact, I think it's not about we make it easier. I think it's also like our job is not only about student recruitment. We do a lot more than that. I think because on the camera or in front it's all about student recruitment, but we also do a lot of things like Sandeep is doing for Essex. We would do certain things. I would do certain things for Readin. He will do it for Birmingham. But we have to kind of acknowledge the fact that when we're talking about UK, it kind of recognizes the potential India has as a country. And we have made amendments over the years in the way we kind of look students and kind of our admission policies. So yes.
And adding on to that as well is that US, of course, is geographically very big. So, I think that's a perception that students have, that if I go study there, there'll be bigger opportunities because there's wider spread. Same thing with Australia. UK, in comparison, is a small island. But again, when we meet students, now we are seeing the difference that they're so well researched. They know the program that they want to go for. They know what is the opportunity beyond that. And that's why they're coming there. So nuclear energy is big, AI is big, and UK is a gateway into Europe as well. So they're not only going to get jobs in the UK, but they have companies from Germany, from other places coming and picking them up. And also most are multinational who are even picking them up for US as well.
So on those notes, right? In fact, probably you read my mind. UK was part of Europe,
Yes.
and then Brexit happened. And you've been talking to students, and you're on the ground. You are fending all those interesting questions, which you might have question answer, or you might not.
Right.
Right. But so when a kid comes, and there was a very strong pitch, right? Come to UK, you're part of Europe. And you can go to 27, 28 countries, right? After Brexit,
Yes.
what kind of questions and like did that make or made UK a bit less attractive?
I think with regards to UK, because what UK did was they did Brexit and they exited out of the European Union, they started focusing on their Commonwealth partners. So again, India became a very strong collaborator for them because they are the strongest Commonwealth. And that's why the free trade agreement talks are happening. In fact, there was a talk just yesterday as well. So lots of these developments are happening which are benefiting the students. There's the launch of the India Talent Visa, which is for students who are not even studying there, can still apply for a job there as well. So, such kind of policies that have come out just shows that UK and India, how well they're getting together. And if a student is, and part of a relation that is happening between two countries, they're naturally there to benefit from it. In addition, Europe is, of course, looking for highly talented people as well. So a student who has a graduate route is not restricted to only work in the UK. If a company is coming in and they feel that student is, a strong student, they will offer them a job there as well.
So you are saying, I'm coming, I know you're open, sorry. And it's guys, it's tough to have, interaction with three of them who have views and points and valid points.
Opinionated
Right?
about
One time
everything.
my best, I'm not biased for Devesh, or probably not biased for Sandeep.
Yeah.
But so you are saying that if I'm studying in UK and I'm going through a graduate visa, so even European countries, companies can come and hire me.
As
Do
a
we have
student,
advantage or disadvantage?
you have an advantage because especially if you're studying in UK, education is recognized worldwide, even in the US and others. Students who are studying in the UK in a very reputed university, again, when they're applying for jobs, whether it's in the Europe, whether it's even in the US, they can still go ahead and apply for all of these, and they do get picked up by companies as well.
Ashish.
I know.
Otherwise, he's
so
going.
much on
He can. He have all the capabilities. Like,
Go for it.
I'm going. So
No. I think I just want to make a point is we spoke about Brexit, but what we forget that even when Europe was part, or UK was part of European Union, you still have to apply for a job in Europe, and you have to go for a visa process. So even if it's Brexit has happened, if a student wants to apply for a job in Europe, you can apply for a job in Europe. There's no problem at all. In terms of, and right now when students are coming, I think the question right now what we get from a student, and I don't know, maybe it's up to Readin as an institution, but whatever survey we have done, students come to us and they know there's a 2-year work permit. They just want to work for 2 years,
Right.
and they want to come back, and especially students at the master's level. I think the opportunity in India is vast. I think back 10 years back, 15 years back, or like in 1970s, 1975, then when the whole migration was happening to Europe or to the Western countries, because of the employment opportunities. Now you have employment opportunities in India. And just going back to Devesh's point, I think if you're a smart kid, you've studied and you have a UK education, you can even get a job in the Americas as well. You don't even have to come to Europe. So I think the UK education makes that difference. I think it's just really need how to capitalize on it.
And main thing is that the universities enable that as well. So every university has a career services unit. They have mentors available. They have alumni networks. So from the beginning, they will start inculcating this in the students. They start reaching out to these people, start using the services. Those who use it are the most benefited. And they're the ones who get really good opportunities, whether it's in the UK or Europe or anywhere else.
Sandeep's turn.
Yeah, I'm like,
No, I mean, and Devesh and Ashish both are absolutely right and very valid points. I mean, without spending a lot of time on this particular point about Brexit, what it also led, of course it was negative. It wasn't a lot of young people in the
it just
in the
happened.
UK, it just happened.
No one
They voted
just
against
happened.
it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, but soon after, I used to. So this is, I go to the UK at a particular time every year. So the change which I saw from essentially a local supermarket being staffed by Europeans and supermarket part-time jobs everybody, the entire sort of peripheral part-time job market was completely changed, and not just Indians, but
More
Indian
Asians,
subcontinent,
yeah.
Asians, Southeast Asian, Chinese, all of them were doing those jobs. So I think Brexit had a way more positive impact.
At least for Asian countries
For-
and India.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because European workers had to, did not get the sort of leverage to work.
And you got a good point, because after Brexit, UK became more friendly to Commonwealth countries. So,
Definitely.
and in fact, that's the best part of this ecosystem. You are always learning. And there's logic. I mean, as someone gains value, someone lost, and vice versa. And there's a reason.
There is.
So any point you want to make or you want to ask anything to me, I mean, it's not about me questioning.
I've got a question.
Please.
My question is, did you see your staff? You've got a fantastic office, and young, what a vibrant energy outside, it's really just feeding off that. So your colleagues and your staff, have you seen a lot of UK graduates come and work? Has that grown? Also, how do you see UK graduates? Are they different in terms of how they make decisions, think, work as a team, present, etc., take up challenges versus Indian alums?
See, thank you for all the compliment, and glad that you like the office, and definitely there's vibes. I as a founder, I get excited with energy, so very blessed and fortunate to have a team members, which I call them ULites and army. I hate to say employee. We are not family. Very clear. So as I keep saying that we are a team of the student, by the student, for the students. And probably me, my co-founder Mayank, and then even my CFO have gone through the journey because her daughter didn't get accommodation in Australia. My CTO, whose son also studied in Australia, right? We have a mix of people who are studying UK, who have an experience of Australia, and then I have lots of US grad who came back. So we consciously try to hire people who are going abroad. They do internship with us, then they become ambassadors, and in fact, super proud to sponsor a couple of full-time graduate, licenses and visas in UK, and all get it to them. Not, I mean, we just became lucky that they were working with us, right? So I see there are plus and minuses. The ideal thing, if they can do an undergrad here, or at least they do first 2 years and go for articulation or a immersion. If they can get, I have seen people who have studied here and also got exposure of UK, US or Australia. They are definitely got an edge. If I purely talk about UK graduate versus Indian graduate, I guess UK graduate probably become more exposed. They are a bit, because their command on English get better. And whatever said and done, English is such a strong, powerful skill. It gives you confidence. It position you in a way that okay, अगर English बोल सकता है तो कुछ job तो ऐसे मिल जाती है. Right. So definitely I see a difference. But if you say like a starking difference, it's all depend on person to person. So yeah.
Very, very valid point. And I think Devesh's point around employability and Ashish's point about keeping it valid, I think very nicely blends into what you said. So even employability in the UK, right? Is it same for everybody? The big elephant in the room is employability, right? Is it same for everybody? It's not. Right? And does universities matter? Yes. But do they entirely, is it the university in the ranking where they're studied? It depends on the person, right?
Yeah.
So I was speaking to somebody at my Employability and Career Center, and they had said that for the KPMGs and the McKinseys and the top recruiters on campus, they start their process in October. October is when our intake starts.
Yeah.
So, like Devesh mentioned, you've got to be inclined, you've got to keep your eyes and ears open, but also apply for some of the prestigious jobs and part-time jobs 1 year in advance. And that's too much. So I think I am biased towards students who apply. I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm biased towards students who apply from tier 1 cities because they're more outgoing. They know, they listen to us. They follow what
they
we
listen
say.
to you, because generally, when you, because generally it's counter. People from tier 1, they have not everyone. They are like, we know it all. Don't tell me, right? But definitely align with your point that they are more proactive and they have more edge over someone in tier 2, tier 3 cities. But yeah, so please continue your point.
So it depends on a person. is the point I'm trying to say, and depends on a person's capability.
And that's everywhere. In fact,
show them the way, and then it's
Yeah.
up to them to follow.
in fact, what a point I would like to make here, and please add minus here. I make money and wealth by helping students when they go abroad, but by no means I will convey that if you're not going abroad, you can't make it big. Please don't have that mindset. If you get an opportunity to go abroad, it's a superpower. But if you're not getting, then also if you see the word have become it become a very small oyster. People are traveling. There's information. There's so many people I get to hire, and they're like, you must have studied in UK or US. They're like, I have not even gone outside my main city.
Right.
Because there is internet. There is all kind of English movies. They've been influenced and absorbing those kind of content, right? So you talk about employability, and that's a I would say elephant in the room, right? We all talk about employability. These are one of those points which people talk, but not lots of universities or lots of people are action on it.
Yes.
So what are you guys are doing on employability?
I think like everyone else, we at the University of Reading, we have a career services. We provide support from day one when you arrive on campus. And I think this is not in particular to this particular institution, but I think even the ones which I've worked in the past, I think what has happened with South Asian student is that they tend to wake up at a very last minute. So like Sandeep mentioned, some of the very good jobs which will give you a very good amount of salary, they will start hiring a year in advance. So let's say for master students comes in September, they will start hiring in October, and they will, I think by the time 3-4 rounds of interview, they will close everything in February and March. Now what happens is we go as a one-year student, we come in September. The one thing which we have in our mind is to celebrate White Christmas. So we want to focus on Christmas. By the time we have done Christmas, we want to go to Europe in Easter break. So we focus on that in April, and then we finally have time for exams in May and June. And by the time we graduate, we passed all the opportunities, right? So even if you have the graduate work route visa, you have 2 years, you still have to wait for another year to apply for a job. I think that's one thing. And I think Saurabh, we have to ask this question, what education truly means. I think education is not only about textbooks. I think you live and learn every single day. I think there are certain people you would have come across in your life who are very successful at a very early age. It's not because they were given a different opportunity. Maybe they were just very focused. And I think what I've seen in my life is that I have met certain people who have been very focused at a very early stage, and they've achieved significant amount of things in life compared to somebody who has been given the opportunity, but they've not been focused. So I think often this thing comes back to the university, that the universities are responsible for employability. They are not. They are there to give you an education. They are there to provide you a conducive environment where you can learn. They are there to kind of give you directions where you need to go, how to do it. But it is down to the individual at the end of the day that how you're doing it. And I think this is where the career services and the student who are coming on campus and everything comes together. You spoke about ecosystem, right? So we all have to come together to kind of provide that kind of environment to a student. But often it's the case that students are not utilizing it. And I'm saying this outright. It has nothing to do with somebody graduating from the UK, US, Australia. Even if you see in India, if you look at the IIMs and IITs in India, some of them don't have 1 crore ka package or 75 lakh ka package. Sorry, I'm switching on to Hindi because
no, absolutely. In fact,
the tongue. But I'm saying that some of them just get a job of 10 lakhs and 15 lakhs. And then you often think, was it really worth slogging through those exams, getting through that particular degree, and then getting a job for 20 lakhs or 15 lakhs. So I think it's all about how you kind of make the use of those opportunities, and then you move forward in life. This will always be a back and forth question. I think there's no black and white answer to this. It's always going to be a grayscale. But I think it is down to a student how you kind of utilize that opportunity. I am a bit biased. If you're an undergraduate student, I can understand that, yes, you're not developed. But from a master's student, I would expect that you are there from day one, what you want to do.
So how you're facilitating, and like what you at Birmingham or Bristol been doing for employability.
Right.
And also I agree that it boils down to individual. But that individual, when they're spending those lakhs and pounds, thousands of pounds, they expect university to facilitate things.
Yes.
They expect someone to handhold, because they are there for the first time.
Okay.
Right. So we'll start with you and then.
No, I think I have an answer to
Okay.
this. I'll tell you why. Because I think so. You have so many employees at university living, right? You provide the same platform, same opportunity to everyone, right? You don't distinguish or bifurcate between among your employees, your family, or you want to call it. But there might be certain employees who will excel,
Army.
and certain.
I hate
No,
this
you
word.
always excel.
I hate this word.
Okay. There might be certain people at university living who will excel, and there's certain people who will be kind of at the end of the race, right? So within the universities, and I think it has, regardless whether you are the top 10 in the world or you're in the bottom of the top 800 or you're in the top 400, 200, whatever, each university will do their job at their best level. They will provide the employability opportunity. They will have career services. They will have people running back and forth. But I think what we missed the point is, we don't only have Indian students coming on the campus. We have at Reading, we have students coming from 160. You might be 180, you might be 200. So we have coming students from all over the world, right? Indian students still are better because we can express our views. When you compare to Chinese students, they don't even speak. They barely go into the class. So I'm saying,
but Chinese students, I mean, on that
They-
note,
they don't want
to stay back, yeah.
But what I'm
it's
trying to-
changing.
Majority.
But that's changing
But-
now as well.
yeah.
And that's
what I'm trying to say is that we create the opportunity. If you're asking, we're going to handle every single student, it's impossible.
That's the right expectation.
Yeah. So we expect the students to come. The one thing which I learned very early on in my career was, you don't get it if you don't ask for it.
Agree.
Okay. So I think we need to keep asking. I think the student have this ability in India. The way, I think, one of the things which I like about India, which I love, I think as a child, when you grow up in this culture, it's family, it's love, affection and everything. But sometimes there's so much of a blanket around you that when you go out, you don't get it. And that's where the big difference and jump happens. But yeah, I think students have to learn. I think they have to go on with the attitude. You don't get it if you don't ask for it. And if you keep utilizing it, you will get wherever you want in life.
so there are
No, I would
just a
say-
comment
yeah.
on. Sorry,
Go ahead.
there's a comment on what
I hope
Ashish
you
said.
remain friends after.
Yeah,
this.
of course.
we will
Always.
It'll only grow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you join the pack.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So there are institutions, Ashish, today, when I'm at fairs and we do exhibitions together, where institutions which guarantee jobs and internships. So do you think, because all of us together, I think, believe that because an individual employability in careers is something which is available to every university, it's up to the student to essentially go and take advantage of that. Having said that, the idea of guaranteed jobs, the idea of guaranteed internships is something which is so embedded in the minds of our students that institutions, and I'm not just saying institutions in the UK, institutions across the world maybe sometimes use that as a offer
like a hook
guaranteed
marketing
placements.
gimmick. Yeah.
So,
No, but that's been one of our-
maybe
yeah.
not even a marketing gimmick. Sometimes it's true. They have. So, in your comment, Ashish, do you think that's a good idea, or do you think that's spoon feeding and it sort of sets them up for fail?
There is another question to it. You guarantee a internship, but how long are you going to last in that internship?
And also,
valid.
what is the internship you're offering?
Valid.
Because sometimes it
Yeah.
could be just an internship where you're just making coffees or getting office supplies.
Yeah.
For a data science student,
I
that
don't
may not
think
be
now
suitable.
there are kids who gonna do this.
No.
Not even
Right.
for money.
Exactly.
Work-life
Yeah.
balance is important.
Not even work-life balance.
Right.
I mean, it's a different discussion we get to Gen Z Alpha, but
Yeah.
but going back to your point, please complete and then I have a very deep question for everyone. And we'll go that. But
Right. So my point was that what Ashish said, definitely universities have career services. But when I speak from the University of Birmingham point of view, we are ranked number 1 in the UK for employability. One thing that we've gone deeper is, because we have a legacy of 125 years, is we've understood that a blanket career services opportunity does not apply. So we've broken it down into 3 divisions. One is a beginner, intermediate, and an advanced. We start with the beginner. Talk to every student. The career services will do that. Find out what stage are they at. Are they at a beginner stage where they don't even know where they want to work, what they want to do? Have they made their CV? So, these will be the basic things that they will start with. Second would be intermediate, where they're ready to start applying for jobs. And third would be the final stage, where they've got an offer and we help them with negotiations of salaries and things like that. So, that's the kind of tailor-made approach students are expecting, which is what universities have to deliver on now.
your purpose is solved, no?
Yeah.
The mention employability.
Yeah,
Now this is my zone. Huh? It's a filter I'm gonna hit out of the park.
No, but ultimately we are
add
there,
to-
but we
no.
also do myth correction as well. Like Sandeep said, students in India are so, used to things that you complete your graduation, you'll have a spot interview, you'll get a job offer. At offer holder events or pre-departures, we have to...
You need to make your opportunity.
So
we have to tell them that
But
this
you know,
is
the
a myth that you're going with if you think this will happen in...
I do a lot of skills workshops, right? And employability workshops. The number one skill that will get you jobs in the UK is networking. That students need to succeed. And that's also an underrated skill. So, like Devesh mentioned about Bristol and Ashish mentioned about Reading, Birmingham and Bristol.
correction. He's far too long with Bristol that we don't.
Now, even for that matter, your name, I have two of your numbers, right? One says Bristol, one says Birmingham. My team are updating. I'm like, same guy working for two companies.
Yeah, good one. Good one. That's why I've been with Essex for 30 years. So there's something called as knowledge transfer partnerships, KTP. These are innovate funded, right? Like we have startups. This is innovate funds, knowledge transfer partnerships. And Essex is number one. And Devesh's institution might be top 5. Ashish's might be top 5 as well. So top 5 or top 10. What they do is find the brightest and the best in class, okay, from an institution and put them into jobs.
Yeah.
So it's a tripartite agreement. Professors get problems from companies. They find their best and brightest, send them to these companies to solve their problems as KTP associates, come back after having solved problems and then become really, really successful. So some of my closest friends, neighbors when I lived on campus, about KTP associates, which then became executives and chief executives and technology executives. But what got them in that sort of position of power and position of networking in the first place was meeting academics, networking with them, succeeding in class. Student success, again, all of us can pat ourselves on the back and say we've recruited thousands of students. But with those 1,000 students come the responsibility of them succeeding in class. If they don't succeed, they are not chosen as brightest and best. So that is the other thing which Ashish mentioned early on. You've got to be successful. It's easy to get in to a UK university, but to succeed in one is what is going to get you a KTP association.
Can I just want to add on this? So I mean, I'm going to brush on 2 points. One is the KTP we're talking about it. So we have a program which is known as PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers Flying Start program at the undergraduate level. There are only a handful of universities which offer this program where we work with PwC very closely and we get a lot of applications from India for that undergraduate program, whereby you have kind of an assurity that you're going to get a job after your graduation with PwC, right? But of course, there are also very hidden conditions to it, right? Obviously, we create that kind of channel for you, but you also have to keep performing every year to make sure that you get that point. The other thing is when we talk about employability, I think there's more than what the university could do. I don't know if you have read the news recently. There are a lot of paperwork and research work has been done. We are talking about green skills in India. Sorry, in the Europe. I don't know if anyone has heard. So Sandeep, I'm sure you would have heard about green skills, right? And you as well. So I think now the employers are kind of focusing on that. Apart from your IQ and technical expertise, you should also be on green skills. And it's more about sustainability and things like communication and other aspects of your life as well. So I think when we talk about jobs in the UK, I think it's not difficult to find a job based on your IQ level. I think when they start looking at the personality and those aspects of your overall package, that's where the issue comes in. I think students have to go beyond. In India, what you think, okay, I've got a degree, I'm good for it. I think one of the things which
if you were to define green skills, and I'm learning something, I've heard about it, but beautiful to know, what is a green skill for audience?
Okay, Sandeep, I will not be able to define the entire. It's going to go completely.
Maybe a sentence.
I think green skills is about how you are, whatever you're doing in your life as an individual. If you're working for a company, how sustainable those things are. So creating a better future.
So basically, carbon footprints.
Not carbon footprint, even beyond. So I think it's more to do. I think Even as a matter of fact, carbon footprint printing, or maybe whatever you're designing in terms of work lifestyle is more sustainable, how you're keeping the environment into picture and everything. So those are completely different elements. I think European Union is focusing on it. By 2030, there's a n number of funds which will be invested in. There will be enough jobs created in this market. This is something which is very big now in the last 2 years and so. But I think we're not talking about green skills. I think in India, what we need to talk about is students have to go beyond the fact that, okay, I've got a degree and I'm going to get a job. You have to understand there's a very big difference. When you're studying, you are paying money to the university to study, right? When you're working, somebody is giving you the money to work.
Totally agree.
Right? So the mindset is completely different. When you're working, the person or the employer you're working for would want you to work in a certain manner. And I think you have to adapt. I think, and the other point which I was trying to kind of work on it, I think you would see a lot of UK graduates, they've studied something else and they're doing completely different. I think so. We have that transferable skills that we have taken a different degree and we're doing completely different. In India, how often that case is?
No, and valid, absolutely valid.
If you don't mind, both of you.
Yeah.
I need to go to Devesh.
Okay.
I'll touch on 2 points.
Point on
Yeah.
networking, right?
Yeah, networking, of course, but I'll say that when we spoke about employability,
I'm feeling like a Times Now host. I have 3 friends, but I don't know they're competing, for their university and for their time space. But
Not at all.
Oh, just kidding.
It's all yours. I think next 2 minutes is all
Validated.
yours.
Next 2 minutes. See?
Next 2
Next 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Maybe no, it's already gone. 1 minute,
Yeah.
45 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead.
So 2 things I want to say. One is that from a university perspective, we are not only the career services is working with the students and helping them, but also working with companies as well to create policy, outreach. Graduate route is there, but how many companies know about it? There were a lot of instances that came out. Companies said, we don't even know that we can hire international students. So a lot of policy advocacy went in there to educate them that yes, these are eligible students for you to hire. Second thing is when we talk about student, again, like Ashish mentioned, the onus is on them. There are lots of things available for them. One is, of course, companies coming in, and we tell this to students as well. When they'll come and ask you, what student union societies are you part of? Are you part of like the Indian society or the Bollywood society? But are you also part of entrepreneurship club or the finance club? So, if you do things like that, that's an add-on to you.
But does it
because
help? Does that
definitely
help
helps.
people just be part of, at least in Delhi University, I was a part of economic society.
Right.
I was also into sports, right? But to be honest, and it didn't help for my job, for sure.
In the
Can
UK,
I
it
just
does.
interrupt, Saurabh? Look at where you are sitting now.
But it wasn't because of those clubs.
No, but I think
Confidence.
No, it gives you the
Confidence.
network creation.
Yeah.
Because within the UK, this is one of the questions companies will ask.
Yeah.
Because certainly they're asking you, are you sticking to your nationality or are you venturing out into multinational environments? Because that's what the companies are. And they want to see whether you can just adjust in there or do we have to invest money into
I
you?
think we mentioned 3 elephants, right? So spoke about employability, spoke about networking. The third big elephant is mental health. And I think all audience, students out there, they are more aware about mental health, want to talk about it. And I think what Devesh mentioned and Ashish mentioned absolutely blends into it. So somebody who is happy will succeed more at Essex.
Yeah.
How do you become happy? By not locking yourself up in the room. It's a big change. 1 year masters in the UK
Yeah.
is hard.
See, that's
Especially for
that's
some
why
time.
we say stay happy.
Yeah.
You know,
Cheers.
let
Let's
me
honestly
implant.
stay happy, yeah.
Let me plant the brand.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah,
So-
continue. please.
So staying
Yeah,
happy
yeah.
is at the core of what a student sometimes determines whether they're successful or not. So mental health is absolutely on the top in terms of agendas for institutions to manage, to take care of. And I mean, my colleagues and my friends can come in and say what all they do. But at Essex in particular, we were one of the first ones to start a service called as Nightline, where students could talk when they miss family, friends, catch up for a coffee or a tea and just have a conversation. So, I mean, the point, as you said, university living promotes staying happy. If you're happy as a student, you can contribute to everything else much more.
Yeah.
And you stay happy by, because it's not your natural environment, stay happy by building interventions. One such intervention is what Devesh mentioned about finding part-time jobs, but also finding those opportunities with knowledge transfer partnerships, or as Ashish mentioned, by working in sort of programs which put you in touch with organizations and prestigious companies, or like you mentioned, sports societies, drama, it would not impact your job, but it helps you stay active, mentally alert, build a network. Stay happy. Therefore, then you know, okay, I'm gonna.
And also research, when we spoke about that. So we tell students, look at every university is offering a PhD. Look at your subject, who's doing PhD in what domain, what companies are sponsoring that research as well. Because then they can approach the faculty, say, can I be a part of your research? They'll allocate a portion of it for them to do, which they can do and submit. They'll get graded on it. But at the same time, they get inroads into that industry. So that's a way
and
for them
these are paid internships mostly.
Could be paid or could be unpaid as well. But these are research papers they're contributing to us. They will get, either as a research associate or as a co-author of the paper, depending on the submission.
So I take a moment, and let me plant my vested interest, which is accommodation, right? But I don't want to just say it for heck of it. You mentioned that, things have changed, the questions have changed.
Yes.
Right? Earlier people used about ranking and how much the course is for and probably as per the scholarship. Now people talking about employability, people are talking about ROI, right? But one thing which you have not mentioned and might be, like people were not asking accommodation previously, and even are they not asking about accommodation now? And you don't need to say things to probably please me. I really want, because you guys are meeting with 100,000 students and education partners and parents. So for me, it's a proxy that how far and how much more efforts we need to put in to educate the ecosystem. So anyone can, probably Devesh, we start with you.
I think there are myths. I'm going to not talk for long, but just mention there are myths that I think you're doing a brilliant job, Saurabh, with University Living on busting those myths. And the myth is that accommodation is like a hostel. There are times where you can't go out, chill, have friends, bring friends over, etc. In the UK, you are treated as adults, and even at university accommodation, university owned accommodation, university living promoted accommodation, private accommodation, you get pretty much, you're treated as an adult, right? So you don't have restrictions. And I think that myth is something which you are trying to solve through your podcast, through your online content, and that's the theme I want to sort of develop at Essex as well. And it's difficult because at universities, the big problem is we've got recruiters who are answering questions and solving problems and questions of students when they're looking to study. But we are not accommodation experts. We are, in a way, jack of all trades. But also accommodation related specific questions are often saved for the end of a conversation. Which is what you address beautifully. And now universities are thinking, having had the accommodation crisis since COVID, universities have now started sending international accommodation officers to India and to other countries so that they can educate students about it, promote it, and also have sort of staff within the accommodation office which can sort of take questions from students and support. Earlier, all of this wasn't there because the problem did not exist.
Problem was there, it was not that severe. And then probably there was solution, but people, they were not platform like us or people who probably building it up. But that's the reason I have biasness for Birmingham and for Garima and all Timothy, because University of Birmingham was first one to onboard as a alternative accommodation solution and listed on your website. So I'm looking for Readin and Essex and many of
Inshallah,
to be listed.
So, but we've had some great feedback as well, because even during COVID, this is what we heard from students, that one of the things they felt was because they had to be quarantined, they were sitting in their room. But in some accommodations, what the accommodation team did, and in fact you did as well, is that connecting each room with the television in the software so that they could chat with each other even in the same accommodation. So I think that is a feedback that students gave that really made them feel that they're not cut off and they're not isolated. Goes back to your,
even the mental health.
Mental health.
What we should do next time when we go to the UK, we should stay in a university living accommodation for a week to experience it. But I think that would be a good way to
if I get that, that listed on each website, I don't mind. I'm a businessman. But that's a good suggestion.
I think for us at Reading, we don't have an accommodation issue because it's a massive university. We have everything on campus. We have en-suite rooms. We have catering as well. But there are institutions I've worked in the past where accommodation has been issue. I think it becomes a more important issue for universities which are not campus based, which are spread across the city. Obviously, when you're spread across the city, you have a very limited space, so you kind of work out what is important for you, what is not. But I think when you're full-fledged campus, you kind of work out the whole arrangement. But I think what has changed in the last 10 years, maybe the questions about the university, but I think the accommodation question has always been the same. I think you will still have parents asking 10 years back where my kid will stay. Even now you have where my kid will stay. I think there has been an issue in the UK on housing crisis, and I know you guys are doing a fabulous job. I know we don't work with you guys, but I think the institutions you work with, they've always praised university living, and I think it is a very important aspect of your overseas education. We don't talk much about it. I think a good night's sleep is important, and I think it's not only about just getting a room and going in and sleeping in there. It is about the environment. Where is the room? How is the housing services and everything, which works a lot better. I think now the question is more about accommodation. Pehle it was just like, you have applied, you get by default, if you apply by this deadline, you go to the university accommodation, otherwise you go with the landlord.
But Abhi, I'm asking, right? I'm not trying to don't say it because I want you to say this, but does that question started a bit early? Or
I think
people
it's
are
the
still waiting
different
for
stakeholders. So I think students will not be concerned about it. They will not ask about it. But parents, even from your first interaction, they'll ask about accommodation.
The first thing this will come.
They'll ask about how close is the hospital, what is the well-being, safety, security. All of these are questions of parents. Students, I think, realize it a little later. Sometimes too late as well. Sometimes they've done everything and then they realize they haven't applied for accommodation. So that's really great that you come into the picture and you are still able to give them a solution.
How did you secure your accommodation when you went to Westminster?
I had friends there, so I lived with friends. I shared a flat
you
with them.
And you
mentioned
for postgrad?
Yeah.
But you mentioned educating the audience. So please continue to do so.
Yeah.
Because like I said, at Essex, even when at the height of so-called accommodation crisis, a lot of our accommodation options are empty. And that was because students had realized or thought that staying privately or doing private rentals was cheaper.
Yeah.
So,
which is a myth.
and had they been on campus, it would have been very different. My vice chancellor, I remember he being dressed in PE wear, would go and deliver food packets to accommodation. That's the level of commitment, but that's the level of service and duty of care that Essex had.
So I have a question for both of you, right? This is what one of the biggest universities asked me, that we have enough accommodation. I'm like, amazing. And they have 55,000 people on their campus.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, and then UCL I'm talking, right? and Arvind is a great support. Full UCL team is a full support. It took me some years, but my question was clear, that you have 5,500 beds on campus,
right?
But you have 55,000 on students. We still don't talk about second year, third year. We still don't guarantee accommodation to postgrad. Right? So firstly, the myth is we are not after, and this is where Birmingham relies, wherein we are not after accommodation service team. Because we are a alternative to people, because not every and this is surely I mean, I'm not saying it for heck of it, but we don't say that book through us. We say that at least start early.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Even they start early. Please.
Can I say something here, just to add? Also, this is feedback that I've got.
Please.
Also, it's in India, you need a nudge.
Yes.
And often, the point I was trying to say about accommodation, recruiters like myself can give a nudge once or twice. Whereas constant nudging is what you do. And therefore, students land up supporting and getting supported by you more than institutions, because institutions do not have that ecosystem in the market.
Right. Agree.
And there are no if tomorrow there is a accommodation fair where UK universities,
it's in making.
If universities come and only promote their accommodation, then this will develop as an alternative industry.
My team gonna probably we edit or we not, I don't know. But
breaking news,
and in fact I believe in that. बोल दो. मैंने बोला है पहले मैं ही करूँगा.
I think
but what do you think about
can I just add? I think sorry, Sandeep, I'm just saying that since we're talking about this, is that I don't think so. When we have done this in the last 13 years or 14 years, accommodation was ever on the high on agenda. Like somebody would have decided, oh, I'm not going to you because I didn't get the accommodation.
No, but when we do our presentations in schools and others,
talk about it.
accommodation is always there.
Yes.
You know, we mention about it. We also mention about private accommodation and university accommodation.
Yeah.
And there are times when students will come and ask us as well, which is better. And then we tell them, you know, it's up to your requirements.
But is it not a priority for students? I think what you're doing is right. I think my request would be from this podcast is apply wherever you want to apply, but make sure
Start
you apply
early.
for start early and apply for a competition.
And look beyond university halls.
Exactly.
You know, because not every student meant for university. Either they don't have budget, or not every university can accommodate everyone. Like you guys are fortunate enough to have enough, but not many universities.
Bristol
Bristol,
Yeah.
you know. So agree.
Also numbers. I mean, back in the day, when we said 13 years, 12 years back, for anything to become an industry, for it to become sustainable industry, to
Makes sense.
have an army of hundreds of people outside, it needs to be
It needs to be substantial.
It needs to be substantial as a sector.
Absolutely.
So sector only grew once the postgraduate route visa kicked in, so all of that happened.
It's
so
the ecosystem. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's an ecosystem. I mean, not a good example, but you guys are selling guns. We have bullets. So if you are not able to sell guns, no one needs bullets. You know?
No, but it's also very important for the student in whole, because they're planning their finances from beginning.
Yeah.
You know, they're planning their fees, they have to plan their living expense. And if they don't think about it, that can be a last minute surprise, both for them and their parents.
Absolutely.
So the sooner they start, the better it is.
So very, two questions. And first, we talk about networking. And I've written previously that someone who's extrovert versus someone introvert. The obvious question answer will be that extrovert will get a higher stand a high chance to get a job. But we'll get to that. Before that, you were saying that as an institute, you don't guaranteed employability.
Right.
And you've been like another thing which I like about UK or even education industry, that we don't overcome it. Whether we are on the camera or even we are not on camera.
Exactly.
And in India and lots of countries, we just recruit because of granted, and because that's what works. अगर आप बोलोगे placement नहीं है तो आएगी ही नहीं, right? So when you are on the face and right upfront you are saying that we can't guarantee jobs. Why a 18 or a 22 or a 23 year girl or a guy leave their city or a town or their country, go 5,000, 10,000 miles, spend 100 to 150k or probably more than that, if they're not getting guaranteed jobs and there's no ROI guaranteed at per se.
Right.
So पढ़ने क्यों है?
I think this
really
comes to
good
what
point.
Ashish said.
I have the answer for
Exactly.
this.
No,
Exactly.
first I will talk, then you will talk.
Yeah. So Devesh,
Yeah, the point.
we are in partner with them. Devesh,
So I think this comes down to the point that he made, that when we're talking about ROI, as a university, we are not a placement agency, so we're not going to give them jobs. We are there to enable them to succeed. So we're giving them the right tools, we're giving them the skills, and also giving introductions to our legacy partners. So we've been, like for example, Birmingham, 125 years. We've been partnering with industries for that long. We have these deep-rooted in links. We have best academicians in the world. Being a top university, we attract them. They have their own research links. So all these networks are there. It's about a student, how they connect with that network. So again, we can enable all this, but again, we will not say that we know what you're going to go do in an interview. We can put the student in front of a panel, but what they do in the interview is entirely upon them. So.
Okay, how old is your institution, Sandeep?
60.
60. Oh, mine will complete 100 years in 2026. So yeah.
so this podcast will be sponsored by Readin.
No, I think.
And breaking news, they're signing up for
I will
accommodation.
completely give you a different perspective on this. For an 18-year-old kid, they're not worried about the job. They are coming out of their family environment. They want to experience a different culture, a different country.
Even if someone which is probably want to elevate their family and they're coming on a sponsorship or probably a financial assistance.
I
think there would be a handful of students, but I think regardless of what is your motive for an 18-year-old, they are not really focused about it. For them, the education is the priority, the experience is the priority. Okay, I think they would somehow know that, okay, I'm going to graduate after 4 years. I don't know what I want to do in life. I'll figure this out 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line. I think employability becomes an issue for the parent or the sponsorship body who is kind of funding the education. I think even parents know nowadays, they don't want a kind of a guaranteed thing that, okay, my child will be placed. They just want a kind of an understanding, how are you going to help my kid to go through and navigate through the whole employability issue. And I think this is what we do when we get this question on the stand that, okay, will you guarantee employability? We say no. We will help your child to kind of go through the structure that how to apply for a job, what to do, because we also that you never know what he wants to do 4 years down the line, and maybe after 4 years, okay, I want to do another master's, and somebody will go into a PhD, somebody will do a double master's. So I think from an 18-year-old perspective, it's about experience, and I think if you are honest in your response, if you're very clear, I think this was where the very first question which we kind of answering it, that somewhere down the line when we are doing all this, we have to be honest. Like you can't. I think it's not about a business deal which you're cracking for 100 million pounds or 200 million pounds or whatever pounds you're kind of to crack it. But I think
you are giving those that like every day I'm cracking 100.
I wish.
So he's like,
I wish after this I have a 100 million pound meeting as well. But I'm saying that I think we have to be honest. I think this is what parents like. I think they appreciate the honesty. And I think we've all done this. I think we know when they kind of ask this question second time or the third time what they really want to hear. And I think we just say that we support you. And the rest is their choice.
But having said that, you said, sorry, I disconnected.
You always connected.
Your big question was कि आना क्यों है?
वही तो बता रहा हूँ
पढ़ने क्यों है?
क्यों आना है?
Experience के लिए.
If you see most of even the billionaires and the richest people, they are dropouts. राइट तो पढ़ना क्यों है?
लेकिन गए तो पढ़ने ना पहली बार.
मुझे समझ आ गया कि पढ़ाई में नहीं बना पाएंगे.
But वहाँ पे था that they had that resources and enabled and they had a backup system. Social service was there.
But how many?
But most of the dropouts, they were smart people. Sorry, they were smart people. They made it to the club.
But how many of them are there?
I agree. There's only 0.1%, but those 1.1%.
No, but even if they realize
if
they fail, they have a social security system that will back them.
Not
the US may mostly when you talk about.
So most of the if you talk about Elon Musk and your Peter Thiel and all that, they see what they did. They cracked the best of the institutes.
Yes.
They can communicate that we are the smartest, and now we are dropping. No, we don't see value in education system. And they were definitely outliers.
It happens in UK.
They were outliers. 0.1%.
Right. I think it's not the exception. I think we're not generalizing.
But again, to the point of क्यों आना है? Even though at the same point when we say we don't guarantee, we also say, but look at facilitation and all of the stuff we've spoken. But look at these stories.
But you guys are missing the point.
It's the story of so many other graduates who have done this and probability. So if you are able to validate your unique proposition by talking about stories which are very similar, somebody from Delhi University who's possibly done the same course with similar 1 or 2 years of experience wants to now come and study and work at KPMG. This is the path. You said bullets and guns, right? I think universities is lubrication. Between this ecosystem, they support students to go from A to B and to validate all of these points while saying it's not guaranteed. There are all these stories.
Okay, good point.
No, but I want to make a point over here. I think you talked about people who dropped out, right? They still went for the education. After a year of education, they realized it's not adding any value to my career, right? So they did require that 1 year of experience, right? To decide whether it's adding value or not. So I think this is what happens at the 18, 19, 20-year-old. You go into education with the mindset it's going to give you that. And then after that 1 year of experience, you either decide that it was completely different course I would have done, or I should just drop out. So I think you do require that formal education.
So in India, what happens is, what happens is,
I was put on a spot, but okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Good friends.
I mean, I'm talking about myself now, right? My case, I realized early on while studying a business course that I want to be more out there. I want to do journalism, right? But because the burden of being a dropout is so much, in India, you can't live with and in the US, of course, because societies are different, they're more involved, etc. That is one. So statistically is biased inherently because of our value system. So value system कहाँ से change करोगे यार? I think that was the point I was trying to make.
Also to say that India is very competitive as well. So, population is there. Very, very bright students are there, but they're also competing with a lot of other people.
It's basically a filtration process.
Exactly. So parents now, with the growing middle class, there is the affordability as well. So they're looking to see how I can make my child have a better opportunity. So what can I do to enable that? Many people are nuclear families, they have 1 or 2 kids, and they want to invest all their money into that child. So that's why they're looking at, there are wonderful universities in India, private ones are also there, but also they're saying if I give them an international exposure, maybe they stand a better chance. So that's when, things like that comes in.
It make you more prepared to have a safe life.
Absolutely.
If not a successful life.
Yeah.
And success is very, very subjective.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
UK universities also accept in India, and that doesn't happen. That's the other reason why this hang up is there. Hang up, or I should say, sort of hangover about completion. So, for example, at Essex, there's an MBA course where we accept students who've not finished their first degree.
Oh.
So, people who've dropped but then become entrepreneurs, 4 or 5 years experience, we'll accept them for an MBA. And who else does that? Across the world.
Yeah, I've not heard much.
Can somebody study a master's or an MBA in India having dropped out? So our
smart
ecosystem
course.
is
Very unique.
Very smart course. I guess whoever designed this is a genius, because
to deans
someone who have worked for 4 or 5 years and an entrepreneur, they make enough money to sponsor it. And I guess the best education, is if you can start your business, whatever,
Exactly.
work for a year or 2. Even if you are selling drop shipping, it make you
Business
smarter.
oriented.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I want to add to the point. I think, like I said in the very beginning of this podcast, UK education is very adaptive. We are fair. We want to kind of give that opportunity to everyone. I think we've been in the sector, and I think I can personally speak about myself. I've seen other countries and other destinations. I think the kind of innovative courses we come out with, I think the other sectors don't come out. I think there's always this joke, if you want to do a course, just search. One of the UK universities might be offering that course in that area.
I didn't get one. I'll probably Reading and start. I'll talk off channel. I'm looking for a PhD in global mobility and global student housing.
Okay.
It's none all across.
He has, every time he has a question or answer for it. But I think something will come into that area. Maybe you can do a DBA, a Doctorate in Business Administration, and then you can do this research in that area.
You find some academic with that.
Probably,
mobility,
I'll pick your brains
I
on that.
definitely know people I can connect with
Yeah.
who have a deep interest in how, immigration.
And then we
There's
can,
lots of
and then
studies
we can
happening
talk
about
about your
research,
employability prospects after that.
Sure. I will definitely look a job after that. Any question for me, guys? I guess we're in the last segment. You were very kind to ask. Devesh, Ashish, anything you want to ask, and you can ask me anything.
I want to talk about your journey. So when you thought about, becoming an entrepreneur, was it like, okay, let me take a risk and get in? Or did you have any doubts? And I think a lot of students now would also want to study entrepreneurship and get into entrepreneurs.
So I will take a minute, because I guess I have bored people so much about this. I mean, अगर मुझे रात को 2 बजे उठाओगे ना, बोलोगे बता, तो मैं आके उनको बता दूँगा. So I don't want to bore everyone, but quickly. So my Twitter or X handle is Accidental CEO, right? So I got fortunate and blessed. I went through a problem, and probably this universe chose me because I didn't get my housing. I came back. I was a banker. I was working in Quota Securities, selling demat accounts and PMSs and all, right? And one friend reached out to me. One thing led to another. So that's how I started.
Okay.
And we can discuss one-on-one, because
How did you meet your co-founder?
Oh, so we actually been roommates. Wow. We share bets. In India, we can share bets, right?
Yeah.
In UK, you are not supposed to.
Yeah.
But we met at Delhi University, and then we lost connect. He was a smart one. He dropped out, and he worked with KPOs and earned money. I was completing मैं घिस रहा था. मैंने economics honors किया जैसे तैसे. And then I moved to Gurgaon, and my first job was India Bulls. But I wanted to come back, and I was looking to stay. So I guess this, I always believe that everyone had a mission. So मैं मेरठ से दिल्ली आया, तो मैं 1 साल मैंने घर ढूंढा, दूसरी साल मैंने घर ढूंढा, तीसरी साल मैंने जीके में रहा मैं, fourth year I went to Gurgaon, so this mobility and this pain of finding accommodation, I guess probably that's the reason I'm passionate and lucky and fortunate to do something where I found my passion and also decent money. Right?
Yeah.
So
how big is the opportunity? Sector कितना बड़ा है?
Sector बहुत बड़ा.
Overall
sector बहुत बड़ा. It's a,
how many
as
you
per
can
me,
put into
as per me, it's a $800 billion market. $800 billion market. People.
Student or like overall accommodation?
I'm only talking about student housing.
Student housing.
Yes. People
across the world.
Across the world. People call me crazy. But I have a very simple maths. 80 million students need accommodation every year. Everyone spend $10,000. That's a $800 billion market. But what shape, size, form you want to take a pie of that market? That's where the journey is.
So do you think there'll be bigger, when I say bigger players, I mean, the likes of people who are already listed on stock exchanges. Do you think there'll be a consolidation in the industry now that that's happened? 10 years down the line, are you thinking of I don't know, going public? Is that your where 10 years after?
See, every entrepreneur dream is to go public. That's where we unlock maximum value, right? Probably not 10 years, if everything go well, probably by 2027, right? But it's been 10th year for university living. It's been 15th year I'm in the part of the industry. I started Unilogist. So again, chosen one to be a category creator, if I call it that word. But in that journey, started with a listing platform, became a marketplace. Now we call ourselves global managed marketplace. We have 3,000 rooms in UK which we manage and operate. So kind of a small operator. But the next goal is to become a global distribution system for student housing, like our matters, GDF for student housing, and then eventually if I get lots of support and capital, probably create a REIT into capital markets, into student housing market. So long aspiration, like big aspiration, and we just started. And when I get a friend and support like yours, and I'm in love with this industry. It's so multifaceted, and every day you're learning. It's keeping you stimulated. And you get a chance to travel. You get a chance to learn. You are interacting with people. Either they are pseudo or they are very interact, but at least the discussions are very meaningful. And end of the day, you are impacting a life. You can make it or break it in a little way. Sorry if I went, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm always pitching.
Really
exciting. No, it shows your passion.
And I think we must, that size of the sector, that is a category creation business.
Absolutely. And it just started. So guys, do we have a time for rapid fire? So anyone can answer this, and we'll try to be quick. That's why it's called rapid fire. Russell Group or a modern university?
Russell Group.
I'd say depends on the student.
But okay, it's a rapid fire.
No,
but
you have to pick one. You can't be like diplomatic.
Exactly. Thank you.
Achha.
Choose your course first.
Yeah, exactly.
Course.
No, the question wasn't that.
Come on.
Don't become. This is not like a.
So we'll do a rapid fire and then we have a count. So one love. Okay. Undergrad or postgrad?
Undergraduate.
Postgrad.
Postgrad.
Again, 2 love.
Specialize.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking on the go. Podcast or a stage speaker?
Podcast.
I said it first.
So another category creator. University accommodation or private accommodation?
University accommodation.
Thank you. I'll give you 3 marks.
This is so scripted right now.
No. See, on the go.
You guys have shared the question.
I should have said that.
They're like colluding, huh?
Devesh, buck up. I want you to win for obvious reason.
Because all answers are so.
Yeah.
You have to be
Subjective.
quick. You can't be like 5 seconds super ka matlab kya hai?
Of course, Ashish has been in coffee with Karan so many times. So he's experienced.
Watches.
Recruitment or strategic?
Strategic. Because
Strategic.
recruitment falls into strategic.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like sales and marketing.
Strategy.
It's
always
about
strategy.
strategic.
Strategy eats recruitment for breakfast.
Yeah.
Good one. You've been reading, huh? Or you seem to be prepared for this podcast.
Yeah. पढ़ के आया, I'm telling you.
ये सारी देख के आया है, हाँ।
सब देख कर आया है।
ना
इसने पूरा स्क्रिप्ट बनाया था।
इसकी टीम ने भी इसे बहुत
Kudos to
He's
the
been
team as
talking
well.
the right things
I've
and
never been able to do this without my team.
Punchlines.
Hoodie or tie?
Hoodie.
Tie.
Always.
That's why you guys are not wearing tie.
Always a tie.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Masala chai.
You are
Coffee.
UK.
Coffee.
Masala chai. I
Not
can't
tea.
even tea coffee.
Not
Masala chai.
tea.
Coffee.
Masala
Coffee
chai.
and water.
Beer or coffee?
Masala
Yeah,
chai.
yeah.
Beer or coffee?
Coffee.
Masala
Coffee.
chai.
Gin, tonic and beer.
Water.
Gin and tonic.
Come on, you guys are so I'm not
Water.
because of camera, I'm not talking as if you have
Arey
never
bhai, I have
held a
water.
glass.
Listen to
Tonic.
drinking water.
Tonic only. Virgin tonic.
Yeah.
I'm good. Any question you want to ask?
No, I
Good.
think
Otherwise,
we've
That's
answered
it. Rapid fire
But
over.
thank you so much for your time. I think it's been wonderful to be on this podcast. Scripted nahi tha na, तो he would not.
Thank you to audience.
Audiences.
ये हमारे अगले नेता जी ना. Thank you.
Preparation.
ये मैंने सीखा आपसे. Good. Great. So that's it, guys. I guess one of the most fun episode I have shot, and kudos to each of you. So being so open and candid, and opening up, and be yourself. So thank you for that, and thank you each and everyone. I believe I'm enjoying it. My co-founder have started asking that, are you changing your role? Are you becoming a content creator and probably be part of marketing? And if I, hand to my heart, definitely I'm enjoying this. Not because I'm getting popularity and views and, whatever social validation, but the kind of discussions we are having, the kind of learning we are having. Last night I was doing with a US university. Today, we have startups of UK education systems, right? Again, I was speaking with someone on sustainability, carbon footprints, and and lots of universities are going after carbon sustainability recruitment. So you are getting chance to rub shoulder with the best. You are learning. It's helping me propagate my agenda, which is to talk about accommodation and to convey that start early and look beyond university halls. So out and out, I would suggest and convey everyone, we all are content creators, we all are creators. In our little way, we can convey the right information, because as a facilitator, we are not here to make anyone decide. We are here to give information so that we can facilitate and they can take informed decisions. So I always say, as a responsible, ethical stakeholders, rather than telling that this is right and this is wrong, if we can give them stats, facts, anecdotes, and let them decide, I guess this industry will continue to grow. This industry will be a great place to work and create a impact. So on that note, thank you, and continue to pour your love. As I always say, we are not doing for news and views, but the deep inside, the more views, the more subscriber, the better guest, the better content. So it's a vicious cycle. So for that reason, please share within your groups, WhatsApp groups. If you can, even if you like one part of this 1.5 2 hours of podcast, do clip, share it. And as a team, we continue to provide you smaller clips, shorts, long form content, and any suggestions, any feedback, good, bad, ugly, don't shy, because again, we are here to improve and we are here to talk unscripted informations to you guys. Thank you.
Very well said. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much.